Hi everyone. I'm just going to give you a quick news update on the Tree of Religion version 3 to give you an idea of where I am at the moment. As you can see, the tree is growing a lot bigger compared to version 2.1, and that's mainly because I've introduced a lot more religions and prehistoric sites that are probably religious sites between the prehistoric and the Neolithic. So that's around about, say, 100,000 to 10,000 BC. More or less. So if I just take you down here, you can see there's quite a few European prehistoric sites that I've added. And all these sites, I've added them, they're not religions in and of themselves, but they do give us an idea of religious activity because we know that there was cave art, there are burial sites, and there are totems and figurines which indicate possible fertility worship. So those are just to give an idea of how religion is starting to emerge and that likely there was animism being practiced by these cultures. I'm focused mainly at the moment on the European area and the Middle Eastern area, and to a degree I'm also working on the African branch as well. As you go further into the Neolithic era, which is between 10,000 to 4,000 BCE, I've also added lots of Neolithic cultures which have demonstrated religious activity. So they might have temples, they might have religious icons, and they might also have areas where they're burying the dead. So again, we can see in these really ancient cultures that predate ancient Mesopotamia that there is religious activity going on all throughout Eurasia. So I've got the Ertebol shamanism in the Finnish area of Europe. And another example is the Cardial Ware shamanism, which is a culture that I think is Central European based. And again, they've got artifacts and they bury the dead. So all this indicates that religion is starting to evolve, that we're starting to use totems and we're starting to create temples and so on. And it continues into the Middle East. So if I just pull us over here, the yellow branch is all of the Middle Eastern faiths and religions. And there's plenty of cultures, including the Cataholik polytheism, which was, I think, the oldest town in recorded history. So we've got an icon there, a very famous one actually, of a woman, probably a mother goddess, sitting on a throne with two cats either side of her. So again, a very clear indication of religious activity. And I've also added some more into China. These are Neolithic cultures, and a couple in India. So I'm going to add some more there as well. Another thing I want to show as well is the complex relationships between these religions, how they were adapted and how they influenced each other. So the main branches show you where a religion evolved and emerged, and then if it stops, that means the religion came to an end. I might then continue that religion using an arrow symbol. So let's see if I can find an example here. Here we go. Indo-Iranian polytheism kind of came to an end around about, say, 1000 BCE, and then was superseded by Zoroastrianism. So you can see here that that arrow indicates that there was an adaptation. So the religion didn't necessarily end completely. It evolved into a new religion. In this case, it was monotheistic. So it was just one god. And I'm going to be showing these complex relationships. Here's one example of one here. Sami shamanism that was north, sort of Siberia and Northern Europe, that influences eventually the Norse pantheon of gods, so Nordic polytheism. So you can see it's just a continual complex relationships, how they all evolve and relate to each other. And ChatGPT is proving to be a fantastic tool for that. For those of you wondering why I'm not focusing on the gods at the moment, this is going to all come together as one major website, because what I want to do is create a website for the Tree of Religion version 3 where you can study all of the world's religions and faiths, and by clicking on one of the icons, let's say you clicked on Greek polytheism, you would go into another screen which would show you all the gods in the Greek pantheon, and then I would pay particular attention to the archetypes. So I would say Zeus would be an example of the storm god archetype, and Kronos would be an example of the Skyfather archetype, and so on. So I would make sure people know that this tree is not just showing us how we're connected by religions, but how all of our gods and goddesses are also connected by archetypes, which means they all came from an original source, which if we go down to the bottom of the tree is most likely from somewhere in the African continent, or it could have been the Middle Eastern and Central Asian continent where it emerged. And then from there, that religion fed out into Europe. It went into Australia, the Oceanic region, eventually crossed over into the Americas. So you can see here that it branches up here across the Bering Straits into the Americas, and you get all of these animistic religions throughout North America and South America. The Polynesians also made it across the Pacific Ocean into South America, so you get an influx of religions there, which are a bit more complicated than the Native American religions in the North, because they're adding extra information from other cultures. So yeah, a lot to unpack there. And so far, as you can see, I'm probably about 20% into this project. So I want it to be completed by the spring. And by springtime, I'm going to return then to the gods, and we'll be focusing on the earth-based gods, which I think I've called them Earth Kings. And again, I'll be nesting all that information into this tree. So as I start developing the archetypes, you might want to click on Tengriism, which is a Mongolian pantheon of gods, and if you click on that religion, you'll see all the archetypes there, and I'll be able to say how, you know, the Sky Father, who's called Tengri, is basically another version of Kronos from Greek mythology, and I'll have all those links so people can basically click on this tree, understand where all religion and faith emerged from, and how all these archetypes exist because they're all examples of an earlier myth, an earlier understanding of spirituality and nature spirits, and how they've all manifest in different cultures in different ways. So they have their own flavor, they have their own take on it, but they're all connected by something much deeper. So I think this helps you to see how all my work's coming together in the next year. And once I've finished the hell gods, so all the gods that relate to beings in the underworld, this infographic on the website will allow you to go deep into the mechanics of religion and the mechanics of archetypes, and help us to understand how human psychology played a part in this as well. So there'll be a Jungian factor that I'll introduce as well. So thanks for listening. Yeah, a lot to come. Please stay on board if you can. I really need your help and support because there's so much more to do, and there's going to be plenty more videos coming out and plenty more podcasts as well. So stay tuned, and thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting me.